Are we live? Are we on? Is this? Oh my god! Oh my god! I'm live. This is how this works. Okay, Jesus! Look at that. It does the amount of seconds. Okay, start talking. So, if anybody joins, by the way, because I wanted to make this more to my own life. This is great. I wanted to make this more into like a discussion, but again, I assume not many people slash anybody will actually find a live unless it's foundable, and I just haven't clocked how YouTube works, and it's foundable by other people that aren't subscribed to the channel. The point of this sentence was if you join during the live, just let me know if the sound is okay. Because knowing me, I have a feeling that, by the end of it, I'll realize that nobody could hear shit, and I'll be disappointed because technically I spoke for about an hour and I don't really speak much outside of like my own recordings. I know that makes like zero sense. But anyways, the first question I wanted to ask people, because I'm kind of like at the end of my own rope with it, doesn't have anything to do with true crime. The first question is, if you lost your sense of smell for a substantial amount of time, first of all, what is the normal amount of time to lose your sense of smell for? Because I feel like after 4 months, I kind of need to figure out how to get that thing back. So if anybody has any tips on that, leave those in the comments after the live, because I very much like my sense of smell back. I didn't smell my own shit for about 4 months. I feel like that is the least problematic thing, Maya. Also, is this censored? As in, can I swear? Because I have not spent 5 minutes of my life without uttering a swear word. So I assume if I say the S word or the F word, does YouTube just completely block my channel off forever? Hopefully not, because if it is, this ain't gonna go well. Anyways, so yeah, tell me, how did you retrieve your sense of smell back? And now, let me just vent. I have a structure, but if you have watched a single video on this channel, you know that the structure will be followed after I first of all vent about my day slash life. The first thing I wanted to vent about is actually, well, two things that I do regularly, right? Let's say on a daily basis. One of them would be going on TikTok, and how do I say this? I have a feeling a lot of these kids actually fake their age on there. It's wild because honestly, sometimes they just love to argue with you. They just love to argue with you, and you gotta think like, what is their actual age? Like, did they just fake it? Did they just actually go on that app and they're like, you know what? I was born in 2010. 2010. What did they make? That will make him 11. So I think the threshold for TikTok is 16. You need to be 16 to be on TikTok. Am I right? Somebody will correct me if that is wrong. So let's just say they're like 10, 11. And then, they're thinking like, oh, what age, what year would I need to be born in order to make myself 16 or whatever? So it's like, oh, 2005. So what month? Like, let's play it. Let's do it risky. Let's risk it. I want to be, what zodiac sign do I want to be? I want to be a Scorpio. So to be a Scorpio and be born in 2005, my birthday was yesterday. They're just lying. They're just putting these things through so that they make comments. They go and provide hate on other people's videos. I have a feeling a lot of people do that. I don't know. I just, from like the comments that I would get, just like people hiding behind the social media platform these days. Anyways, I should probably give you the context. So I watched Spider-Man yesterday. So wild. I don't really care for Marvel like that. Don't really care for it like that. I watched it purely because all of my For You page on TikTok is like Tom and Zendaya, and like how there's so much chemistry between these two individuals. So I wanted to see it for myself. So I asked my husband, which movie do they like kiss, make out in? Anything, like, do they do anything in any of these movies? And then he told me, watch Spider-Man Far From Home. I think that's the one. And yeah, Tom and Zendaya in that one, and they briefly kiss. Like Zendaya has like 3 minutes of screen time in that. Like she's a main character. I just don't understand how can a main character have like 3 minutes of screen time. Anyways, so she's in there and it's a really awkward kiss. I was like, I can't make up my mind right now. But in that movie, they played a song that went viral on TikTok, like Bongo La Bongo Cha Cha Cha. So I posted like, oh, how does my uneducated ass not know that this song, this trend comes from here? And of course, some literalist Linda went for my ass, being like, oh, actually, this song is like older than whatever. Like, I know that this song wasn't made for this movie. Like, kids, kids. I know it wasn't made for this. It's like 1960s song. I understand that. But the movie is what made it popular. Or at least I think so. Anyways, that was my point. Well, now when I'm talking about this, I kind of thought of structuring this differently, but let's talk about Crimetok because that is a whole new niche that needs to be addressed. And you, if you're on TikTok, if you're on hashtag Crimetok, hashtag murder talk, let me know what you like to see because I like to post sometimes, mostly just promoting like the cases that I post on here. But let me know what kind of things you like to watch and what like makes it die inside, because I think like on TikTok a lot of people try to stick to the trends to make it about like the sound and the case that is in the news right now, so many of them about going down the Gabby Petito rabbit hole, and it just makes like no sense. Like there's a more sensitive approach of how to cover those topics, and it's not by you dancing to a trend like a girl was killed. So I personally, when it comes to TikTok, like either summaries of the cases, basically, yeah, mostly only the summaries of the cases, whether it's 60 seconds or whether it is 3 minutes. Just like, summarize, give us like either a teaser if you do like have a YouTube video somewhere or a video somewhere on it, give us a teaser, or just like actually tell us a summary of a case in 3 minutes in a couple of parters, whatever. I love when people do that. But then going back onto the topic of a lot of people on TikTok being actual kids, like probably early teenage years or just actually 16, 18, whatever the lowest stage you can have it in. Like recently, I really think it is a pool where a lot of young people glorify criminals. It's like another completely established platform, if you wish. It's just like an additional platform where we can go, well, some people can go and glorify criminals. And I don't know how that will change because it's again one of those things which is a trend, which people, if they know how TikTok algorithms work, if they know what they need to put a hashtag on, like what sound to put on, they can make it a trend. Like the recent ones I've seen were Menendez brothers. I've actually had people who watch my channel like either ask me to cover it or say that they have watched coverage of Menendez brothers because of so many teenagers on TikTok who were like, they're victims, they should be exonerated. I agree that the Menendez brothers were victims. Like that's not what I'm arguing with. But with certain things, you kind of have to have the insight and I feel like the age also to speak about the topic and the knowledge of like other similar cases because there are plenty of kids, there are plenty of people who have had it worse than the Menendez brothers. I'm saying them right? It is the Menendez brothers, the twins that killed their parents and they were sexually abused. Menendez brothers. Yeah, why did I doubt myself there for a second? Yeah, it is them. Um, so there are people, there are kids that have had it much worse, that have lived in much worse conditions, didn't live in a palace, didn't have like this well-off lifestyle, that were abused much worse and didn't have the resources, didn't have anybody to speak up to. Like these two individuals could have worked together could have actually plotted something, could have worked in a calculated way in order to expose their father. But they didn't. They chose to gun them both down, the mother who supported it and then the father who was the abuser. And I'm just like, they were victims, yes, but why are we supporting this behavior? And then the other one, the one that I made a video on as well, is Cameron Herring. Oh, yeah. So this kid, that one you might find a bit controversial. I don't think you will find controversial what I'm about to say because those are the TikToks that I've seen on it. So this is about a guy who is 22. I think he's still 22. I don't know. So he was 22 when he just went out to race with his friend. So they were kind of like in two separate cars racing on like one of the main roads by the beach. It wasn't a racetrack. And he ran over a mother with a child, and both mother and the child died. TikTok's take on this is like, I couldn't find any information on it, first of all, when I first covered this like months ago on there. The take of people is like, he's so hot. He didn't deserve 24 years in prison. It's too harsh. I don't know what you think about that, like whether or not it's too harsh. It's like, it was just a mistake. It was an accident. He doesn't deserve that. But mainly it's like, oh, he looks so hot. Like, you know, run me over. It's like the same thing that happens with like Joe Goldberg from You. It's like, oh, I wish you stalked me. No, this is real life. Like, where were you? Do you even know the victims? Do you know anything about them? It's just like so mind blowing to me how people go on there and just millions and millions of TikToks, millions and millions of views of just glorifying different criminals. I don't know. I just find it tone deaf. Like, Crimetok has its niches, and there are certain niches that I just cannot deal with. I kind of disagree with, and sometimes they pop up on my For You page, and I question, why do I have this app? Like, why do I even have TikTok, and why do I go there daily? It's so unnecessary. Oh, there's another specific niche on TikTok that I put on here, and that is, so I covered on this channel the case of Claire Miller, the TikToker who killed her sister. Just like overnight, went to her room while the parents were sleeping, and she killed her sister. Today I've seen something else about a famous TikToker who killed his wife. Like, they were separated. I think she had a restraining order. I don't know their name. I don't know this person's name because I've literally seen it like an hour ago. Yeah, this person had like a restraining order with his wife, but they had a child. So they would visit a child, and then they gifted them an iPad and installed an app on the iPad in order to listen in onto the conversations in the flat, which is like some next level stalkerish behavior. And then once they hear the wife speak with another guy, they actually like intruded into the flat and killed the wife. And it's like a TikToker with like 1 million subscribers. So let's see how that develops, because the case of Claire Miller, there were so many duplicate accounts that came out of that one, simply just copying the content just so it doesn't get lost. I don't know. I don't think it's that innocent, even though I wouldn't find that innocent. Like, it's fucking weird. And when I made a video about it, a TikTok about it, there were certain people, like actual duplicate accounts, copying Claire Miller's content that commented on it. Like, yeah, I'm like, then explain me the psychology of it. Don't just comment, yeah, I want to understand the psychology. Because I don't know, do people really believe that making TikToks like will bring them so much money, they will end up rich? Like, you can have millions of views and get like £10 off of that video. It really doesn't work that way. So I don't understand that part. I will never understand. When I was doing research for Claire Miller's video, I was just questioning everybody and everything, and why do they do it? Because I don't know what you think. Like, do you understand it? Can you justify? Do you just think it's so the content doesn't get lost, and so the people and the news organizations that cover the case have it at their disposal? Because something tells me that's not it. Those people need to be canalized because I want to be the fly in the wall. Well, being the fly in the wall in those situations wouldn't really work because you need to know what's going on inside of their head, right? Hmm. Hmm. Had a pretzel from Auntie Anne's today. So that's that on Crimetok. The second topic that I wanted to talk about in the beginning of the video, and then I just moved into this, and now looking at the pretzel reminded me of, is gym. And also, you said that you do things on the daily, that you things you want to talk about at the beginning. I don't do this on the daily, clearly. God, that would be a mindfuck. So, okay, so this is a event, and then again, I will go back to the structure of the day. When it comes to the gym, I don't know does this happen to anybody, but there's two things in particular that I wanted to discuss. One that I think weirded out everybody who was in that changing room today, because that's again my style. That's how I roll. You know, I use gym to switch off, right? Like I go there personally to just completely disassociate, just listen to my dad wrote a porn or like listen to different podcasts and just like completely zone the hell out. And I start with zoning the hell out maybe a bit too early because this, I wish I can tell you this happens only. I wish I can tell you this only happened today, but it literally happens all the freaking time. I go into the changing room, right? To leave my rucksack and just take my water bottle, and every single time I'm not present. Like I'm not mentally there in that moment. And every time I return to that changing room, I cannot for the life of me remember which locker did I put my rucksack in. Today, no joke, I opened the whole section. I opened about 20 lockers. Like people probably looked at me like she's trying to steal somebody's shit. It's not. It's just that I need to start paying more attention. I need to start actually remembering which lockers do I use. Does anybody else disassociate? How do you deal with it? What do you do? Do you just always use the same one? But then they're taken. So that doesn't work as a solution. Offer me solutions. Okay. So unhinged. Definitely should fucking stop with the caffeine. Anyways, so as I was looking for my locker, like opening 20 things, people staring at me like, "Oh God, this is somebody let her out. Nurse, she's out. She's out again. She's opening the lockers in the gym this time. She escaped too far." Anyways, as I was doing that, there's an announcement. They put the freaking thing on the door, the announcement. Then there's an announcement like on the speakers, like the male member of staff is gonna go into the women's changing room. Okay, this is a question for white people because I understand why these announcements need to be made. I understand why a female member of staff needs to open the door for for a male member of staff to like go in. I understand there are different cultures where you can't be seen even without a scarf, let alone without clothes. My question to white people is okay, so this is the situation, right? You hear this announcement, but like you're in the shower. Like they're coming in. What are you doing? Like if somebody doesn't, hey, Anki Jacob, nice to meet you too. It doesn't even show that anybody joined. How did you do that? How did you do that? It doesn't show like any participants, and you just did it. Anyways, so you're a whitey, right? You're inside of a shower, and you hear that announcement. A male member of staff is coming in, and if there's nobody there to prevent them, like there's no woman, nobody changing to say, okay, stay out now, like come back later. What are you doing? Aren't you just proceeding as normal? What, like you're not going to stand in the shower forever before like they step out or something? I don't know. I think like I have very liberal views about just in general nudity and stuff because I just go out, get dressed, act like nothing has changed, act like, yep, they're just gonna go around your business. I think people watch too much, too many movies, too much, How to Get Away with Murder, where every single scene is there's so much tension building where you think that these two individuals are going to, I don't know, start having an affair, start like sleeping together, whatever. It's like, it's just not going to happen. It's a PT who's doing their job, and it's a woman, or if the roles are reversed, a female member of staff going into a male changing room, they're just coming out of the shower, drying their hair, putting their clothes on, moving on with their life. I don't know with like why is it such a problem to so many people? Because like so many people in my situation today wouldn't have even gone into the shower because they just would be so paralyzed, like, oh my god, overthinking it. Anyways, there's no way to segue out of this. I just wanted to vent. And now, something that I wanted to talk about 20 minutes ago, how is this live already going on for 20 minutes? Is Netflix shows. Okay. So here I need to know, are you a Squid Game person or are you more Alice in Borderland person? Because if again I've learned anything from TikTok, it is that it's kind of like two tribes. There's two different tribes. And people are very passionate about it. And a lot of people believe that Alice in Borderland is a lot better in terms of a plot, in terms of scripting, probably, in terms of everything compared to Squid Game. So I want to know your opinions. I'll let you know what I think. I just wanted to start in lightly because I really enjoy this niche and I really want to know where it's going. I want to see where it's going. And also because if you think about the particular niche of like an apocalyptic world or capitalistic world where people are made to play games in order to survive, the only good thing that the only replication of that I've seen done well in the US is the movie The Escape Room. And the second one was kind of long. Second one could have been a lot better. We got higher expectations, but still pretty decent. The Escape Room Tournament of Champions, I think that's what it's called. Like that's the only thing from the US that came out that I was like, okay, this is actually done in a decent way. Hi. I'm like trying to read. How do people do lives naturally? So that is correct, Anki. That is correct. Anyways, as I was saying, with I think the fairly like the problem with the comparison between the two is that they're kind of different shows. The one I connected more with emotionally would always be the Squid Game, just because it allowed for more character development. But if you're focusing purely on the games part of the show, Alice in Borderland was genius. Like, I'm not going to even argue that. When it comes to the games part, like, you got me thinking a couple of times. Even the parts that I didn't like when they were on the beach and there's like the Charles Manson character, I was still like, okay, you know what? Every single episode is based on a game, and you just have to think about it. You have to actually use your brain cells to think about it rather than just being like, oh, it's about the characters and how you emotionally connect with them. So I think there are two different premises. Now, what I would like to know is because there's people that are so passionate about Alice in Borderland, like, was there a deeper meaning? Because as somebody who never watched the manga, who never watched like really any Japanese shows to begin with, I just want to know, was there ever supposed to be a deeper meaning? Because the whole premise is it's three friends, they're meeting up, they get in trouble with the police, they run into a train station, into a cubicle, and then when they go out, there's an apocalypse outside. I covered it for the podcast. So if you go onto this channel, you go into channels, you can see an episode on it and it's on Netflix. So you should definitely watch it. But like that's the whole premise. And the whole premise doesn't allow for much of the character development and really doesn't get you to buy into it because you're like, okay, so what, you went out of the station and the whole world is just empty. Like, I don't know how you made connections to that. I feel like I might be missing out on something important there when it comes to Alice in Borderland because so many people connected to that show. And that's the part where I just wasn't buying into it compared to the Squid Game, where it was like capitalism, people have nothing, they have nothing to lose, and then they're given this game as an opportunity. They can leave it, and you see once they leave it why they would choose to return. Mostly focused on characters. Yeah. Exactly that. Characters, complexities, decision making. Did you watch Alice in Borderland as well, Ankit? Mm-mm-mm. I just think like I'm missing out on something. 'Cause there's like the people have seen like a deeper meaning. I just didn't buy into that thing of like, oh, this is a parallel universe. I don't think it was set up well for me to like buy into it with Alice in Borderland. But if you watch the Squid Game, you'll like this one. What was I? Oh, I want to talk about you. Closest. Okay. Okay, yeah. Definitely check out, yeah, the Japanese one, Alice in Borderland. I think you'll like it because, like, I was desperately looking as soon as I finished Squid Game. I was desperately looking for something similar, and yeah, or the Escape Room, the movie. I suggest that as well. The first one was epic. The first one had my palms sweating. I was like, oh my god, they don't care about their lives. So that is something. The Escape Room is American, so also I don't know if it's on Netflix, but you can find it easily online. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about You, the Netflix TV show. What are everybody's opinion? Okay, so I want to chat about something in particular, and I'm gonna try to do it without like spoiling everybody's life. But I feel like I really like this show. Not just that I like it, but this season was so just epic on a different level. I think it was its best season, which I haven't seen with any show where like season 3 can be even better than season 1. And I think casting was done so well on this one because it isn't like super popular established characters. And like shout out like the two characters that genuinely held this show on their shoulders were Shalita Gray that played Sherry. What a character. What an actual character. And Victoria Pedretti that played Love. Like held this show like on, I mean, Pat Bradley, of course, Penn. Like you can't imagine anybody else playing Joe Goldberg in You. But these two characters gave it so much love, gave it so much life. What you saying? Cool. Um, what I like about the show, in particular season 3, is that I was actually buying into the psychology of stalker and like its victims, which I find that so many shows can't nail. I actually had to look up the writers after I watched You because at certain points I was like, okay, this is a bit too real. Like the way that they thought about alibis, the way that they thought the thought process worked in certain situations, I was thinking, okay, and it won't come as a surprise. I think one, if not two, I mean, a lot of them worked on like some famous shows, but one person at least, one of the writers worked on How to Get Away with Murder. It doesn't come as a surprise. It's like, okay, yeah, somebody must have worked on that show as well. Just because, like, sometimes it's just too real, and this season was so brilliantly done. I mean, if you watch it as a binge, especially with me, I need to buy into the psychology, like, so that I don't think it's overly dramatized, that, oh, this isn't how it would have actually worked like. And I like how they do it from both sides. So you really see that this is the guy who clearly doesn't think clear. I've seen so many parodies on Joe Goldberg and on You about just how he would act, like how every single girl he thinks like he has a connection with. And that's exactly that. And how with the victim side, you just never know. You never even know that you're a target and how creepy that is. That somebody can have a fixation on you and you just don't even know that you are an actual target of somebody's fixation. But in particular, okay. So something that I want to talk about without spoilers. Let's try because I didn't script this. I just put this thing because I think it is a key to how certain characters' downfall is going to be brought upon when it comes to You. Let me burp. So, okay. I don't think this is a spoiler because I swear this happens from like season 1 in You. There's a contraption that the main character has built, a cage where he keeps people to teach them a lesson. Sometimes they get out of it alive, most of the times he kills them in there. And this contraption was also rebuilt because these two individuals moved houses. So the two protagonists move into a house. They build this contraption again. There's another cage that is built now. And pay attention if you haven't watched this season to who is more involved into building it. Because once the show ended, I really thought this was a clue. So of course they use that cage and they entrap certain people that they get fixated on. So these couple of individuals they will entrap this season will find the reason to believe that the two protagonists don't trust each other. So that there is a way out that they can find inside. And it's all about who trusts the other character less. And I think that's going to be a main downfall to the one of the stalkers that ended up alive from this season, just because people like this usually don't think that nothing. I mean, stalkers usually think that they have complete trust built in with whoever they manage to love bomb, to make fall in love with them. And like they never see that, sometimes that might not be true. That might not be correct information. I think that is going to be the key to the downfall. But I never want this show to end. It's like Prison Break. I'd watch him like stalk the next person for a season again and again. I'd watch Michael Scofield escape prison, even if it was 20 seasons. I still watch it. I don't care. I love that shit. What is the other one? There was another one recently where I was like, oh, Money Heist. Yeah, that's arguably like not like the best one to push for like 10 seasons, but I watch it. Rob another place. I don't care. Rob an actual bank. I don't care. I watch it. Okay, cool. Oh my god, I wanted to speak about true crime books briefly. I genuinely thought this live is gonna be 30 minutes. How can you talk for so much? So, true crime books. There's a whole playlist on this channel. If you haven't watched it yet, that is the one that I would recommend you watch because I read books, right? I cover the cases upon the books that I read, and I would recommend reading every single one of them. But there are three particular highlights that if you are into this, first of all, if you are into this, recommend me in the comments what books should I read, which one should I read next. Just recommend in the comments because I just want to know because I have something lined up. The one that I have lined up is Chanel Miller's book. It's the Brock Turner case, and the book is called Know My Name. So that definitely I have on my list. I haven't seen the problem I have with that. And again, if anybody, has any inside information on that, I'd like to know because I hadn't seen a true crime YouTuber cover that focusing on the victims. I don't know if that's due to like privacy reasons. Because again, I want to read a book, I'll read it regardless, but I don't want to, do the research, cover the case just for it to be removed by YouTube due to their guidelines. So if anybody knows about that, let me know. But that's the one that I want to read because finally her name has been made public and she wrote a whole ass book. And that I always find powerful. I've done a case on Alison Botta. Like survivor stories are always hit differently when you read a book. But the ones that I read for the channel that I would definitely recommend people read, the first one, I think this is the first one I've actually read for once I started doing deep dives, and that is Last Victim by Jason Moss. That book is just so interesting. So Jason Moss was a guy who really thought like as an experiment he's going to start writing letters to serial killers, and he wrote letters to like various ones, Ramirez, Dahmer, but his main fixation was John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown. And he exchanged so many letters, he even got to visit him in prison, and it's just such a deep dive into that, like what he gained out of the experience and the psychology of like how that actually affects you. So that I would definitely recommend just because it's completely different perspective as well. So if you haven't read Last Victim, watch the video as well. If you need like an extra additional motivation teaser, watch the video. Hello, Subway Switch. Who is wait? Stephanie's sister. What are you on about, Duo? By the way, did I ever ask you which state do you guys stream from? My favorite duo, Subway Switch. Enter the chat. Hello. Wait, let me just let me while you type, let me drink some water. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Hello, mate. People are too chill with me, you know? Like, people are too relaxed. And I love it. And I love it. Oh, God. How do people do lives? They just talk and then they interact. How do you find it natural? This is interesting. Subway switch. Okay, while you type, I'm gonna be talking about the second book. Why is there so much hair? It's like a cat. The second one that actually changed my opinion completely on a case is Written in Blood by Diane Fanning. I will definitely return to Diane Fanning. I like her style of writing. She does deep dives. She interviews like victims' families, perps' families. She really lives in the States and has the resources to do so, and probably now has the name established for herself in order to do so. Written in Blood is on Michael Peterson's case, The Staircase. Another so sweet. And it completely changed my opinion because just again, there's so many details that people aren't aware of, that people aren't even looped in, because the Staircase documentary on Netflix, I've heard, I haven't watched it just because again, the different reasons. I'm not really fan of documentaries, but it is heavily biased because it is partially made by Michael Peterson himself. That's at least what I've heard. So there's so much information missing from that one. And yeah, I read this book to do the two-parter on Michael Peterson's, and it's only after I read this book. Like, I've listened to so many people cover this case without reading any books, and so many people who have like millions and millions of subscribers, which pays me so much. Like, why are you not giving me anything else? And it's only after reading this book that I actually had a theory that I was like, okay, no, this theory actually makes sense for this case to have happened. Like, there is an actual theory that makes sense. So that's why I would recommend reading it. Wait, as in sorry from the in the UK? Subway switch. Are you here? Are you local? What? Why did I think you were from the US? Or is there Sarah in the US? There probably is. There's Birmingham in the US. There's London in the US. There's so many places that are in the US as well. Let me just have a monologue before they answer my question. So special. Okay, and the last. Sarah in the UK. Oh my god, I never knew you were local. Well, hello. Well, hello. Your accent is probably actually not fake British like mine. No. Yes, your accent. You don't sound like me, do you? You're not like fake British. You're actually British. This changes my whole world. Listen, I thought this followers account, subscribers account, was from the US. And now I come upon a realization that it's from the UK. It's the whole ass conspiracy theory can be based on that. What can be based on that, Maya? This is so great, arguing with yourself. So the third book that I would like to recommend, What is with the Hair? Why did you wash it today? The book is called People Who Eat Darkness. It's written by Richard Lloyd Perry. I've also read it, done a two-parter on it. It's the Lucy Blackman case. And I just remember because I went on holiday back home and I've spent usually I read these books, I immerse into them within one day just because of the time frames that I have to work with during the week. And this one I read on holiday and I was just like, I was doubting myself so much when it came to that case, that research, and that book, because there is so much that happens. You need to understand the culture here in the UK, and then you need to understand the culture in Japan and everything in order to understand this case. So, like hostessing, how it works, it's like a completely different world. The culture, the politics at the time, and it was just a job. Like, it was an actual I don't know, like avalanche of work that had to go into it for me to like actually understand, to even be able to explain that case. So, but it's so brilliantly done by this person. I'll definitely check like if they have written anything else in order to read that, because that book I definitely recommend. It's a hefty one. It's like I called it a Bible. I don't actually know. Bible might be short. For all I know, my Bible might be like 5 pages. Probably not my. Why would a Bible be 5 pages? I mean, I don't know. Why not? God, okay. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Oh, yeah, I wanted to mention that and draw that, but now that didn't make sense. Wait. Oh, bye, Subway Switch. Hey, project. Okay, my back hurts. Hello. Okay. Enjoy the show. I love it. Uh, oh yeah, I wanted to tie something in, and then it was supposed to be a segue, but because I put stuff into my notes with like arrows and stuff, I don't make it like as normal. As my mind doesn't work that way. I wanted to talk about something. Well, actually, it kind of segues into the next part of this live, anyways, and it is the true crime content and where it's going. And here is where I'd really like people's opinions. Because every week I go on social media and I see like different things being criticized when it comes to true crime YouTubers or just like TikTok, or how it's done on each and every platform. Is it all about the victims, and how every single aspect of somebody's video really speaks on that behalf? Recently, something I've seen on Twitter, it was thumbnails. There was this true crime YouTuber that did like thumbnail about victims of Cecil Hotel, and then like she was, in the main focus, and all of the victims were like small figures behind with like their eyes censored. I don't know who the content creator is. I'm not like trying to shame anybody, but it's just kind of trying to evoke like, is true crime content really about victims? And I think it's changing with time in terms of like how we are reporting on it, how podcasts have done it in the height of podcasts, when they began from like 2016, I think, was when like podcasts really started being the thing, and all of the names that you might consider tone deaf were established, and the true crime comedy as a genre was also established. And like, are we moving on from that, and where it's going to be in like 5 years time? I don't know what you guys are thinking. Hi. I don't know what you guys are thinking when it comes to this. Like, do you think like we are gonna move from true crime comedy to more educated content? Because the part where I like like the niche I like that people are moving into is podcast YouTube channels where it's like retired detectives creating a podcast. Or the one that I like is Crime Weekly with Stephanie Harlow, who does long form on YouTube, and Derek Levasseur, who is a detective, well, a retired detective, I think, as well. And it's just moving into like long form but educated conversations. I feel like I enjoy those more and more compared to just people mocking criminals, because it's really tricky to make the content where you mock like certain individuals, you make fun of the situation, you make it like light-hearted, and never actually like offend, disrespect the victims. I don't know what you lot are thinking about that. I wanted to sort of like connect all of that to the expenditure of like true crime, and where it was a couple of years ago and where it is now, where there's thousands and thousands of podcasts, so many channels that do it short form, because they all seen success of certain podcasts, of certain channels, and they want to try their hand in it. And I think it's a lot different, because I know it's a lot different, because when I started the podcast about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. Like I've only had time to do it short form, to spend, I don't know, a couple of hours a week reading like maybe 5 articles for a case. Whereas now, if there's a book, I'll read a book, I'll read many more articles, I watch other people cover it before I actually sit down and tell you a story. And I think it's a lot different. I think your opinion changes once you sit with a story, and I think it's true crime as a niche, like it deserves to be done well. It deserves to be covered in such a way where a person can form a theory on something. As I mentioned with Written in Blood and Michael Peterson's case, The Staircase, like I have watched so many people cover it, listened to so many audio versions, so many podcasts on it, and I never actually had a plausible theory until I dived into it myself. And it's just kind of wrong. Like, what's the point then of so many people covering? What's the point of so many people looking into it when, they haven't done all of the work, covered all of the victim? It's just, I don't know. You just can't form an opinion. Another thing, and this is why I started like binging on Stephanie Harlow and seeing how she covers the cases, where I completely changed my mind after listening to her deep dive, because she does multi-parters as well, is the case of Madeleine McCann. Like, I had so many theories on that case before because of the coverage of like different people, where it's like basically just repeating the mainstream news articles, like articles that they found online. And it's only like once you actually watch somebody cover like 99% of the details that are out there, that you can actually form an educated opinion on something. I think it's completely different. I like that it's changing there, that more and more people are going into actual long form. And also, I like it for the authors, because so many people have written true crime books that like I would not have heard of had I not actually, started trying to do this properly. And the same way that, I don't know, so many people are missing out on as well. I wish, like, that is one thing that I was thinking about the other day. I wish I had a time. If there was one single podcast that I do, I'd just be there speaking with true crime authors about the case. That would be it. That would be my detective pair. Okay, that would be like the second part of a podcast. Is there anything else that you have on your chest? Let me read from my notes quickly. Go. Mm, 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 mm. What? Oh, no, you don't want to strike that beef. uh, so yeah, I wanted to finish this this part of like where true crime content is going, because I see it every week, like mostly on Twitter and TikTok. I want to know people's opinions on mixing true crime coverage on people's channels with something else. Usually it's makeup. Let's be honest. I've heard, like, I've seen a channel where somebody plays Sims and covers true crime. That is another niche. There's so many like niches. The one that I actually have done to a certain degree, if you are here from the beginning, which, wow, what a wild ride. I used to do last meals and I kind of stopped. I don't know if I'm gonna go back to it, where I cover the story of a criminal while eating their last meals. There's a lot of people doing true crime and mukbangs combined. And I don't know. I think, like, again, more and more people are moving away from that, because we kind of understand that there needs to be a line drawn somewhere. You can't be telling a story about a violent murder or victim and, you know, putting like makeup all over your face, or like eating chicken wings. It just doesn't sit right with some people. And I understand it. I'm not pooping onto anybody's parade here, by the way. I think it's a talent to tell a story while actually applying like makeup, like doing anything that requires actual skills. I think it's a talent, but I don't know where you see it a few years from now. Even with Bailey, Bailey Sarian, like last video, I think she done on John Wayne Gacy, and she thought of doing like a Halloween makeup. She thought of like doing actual, I think like whole body or like her whole face or something that would be gory. And even she said like, I feel like this is where I draw the line at the beginning of it. And I just find it interesting because even the people who are doing this, who are famous in that niche, also kind of know where to draw a line. That is something that people should debate because I think this industry in general, podcasts and like true crime content creation is going to be completely different a couple of years down the line. And I hope it goes more and more into long form and more into like educated conversations between detectives, like aficionados, people who are into a subject with somebody else who maybe has more knowledge or like has more of a focus in the area. And now the pondering goodbye, the thing that I want to leave you on. Um, I have a completely different thing written here, but I wanted to know if you were a fly on a wall in a single room. It was like a single room. It is to do with true crime, right? So it can be like a crime scene, which I hope you'd snitch if it was a crime scene. I hope you try to prevent it to begin with. Or it can be a police interrogation room. Anything to do with like a crime scene afterwards. Why would they want to do that? Anyways, if you were a fly on a wall in a room where you can witness either a police interrogation or a prison visit or an actual crime happen or a crime scene and how it was processed on a single true crime case, which one would it be and why? I am covering, I think it will be next week. The part one is going to come on like another going down the rabbit hole on another deep dive case. And that would be my answer, but I'm not going to spoil it. And it wouldn't really be a room. It's one of the unsolved mysteries, and it happens in the wild. It happens in the wilderness. Yeah, I hope that doesn't spoil it. But that's one thing where I would like to know, was it an accident or was it an actual crime? Like what happened? Because it drives me insane. So would it be an unsolved mystery for you? Would it be a crime that is actually solved where you're like, I don't buy that confection. I don't buy that that was done by the police and like you didn't put words into somebody's mouth? Would it be a crime scene? What would it be? Let me know. Okay, so how do you end a live? I don't know. Normal people probably just exit Maya, like they just say goodbye. But you are not gonna do that, are you? You're like putting things into a drawer. God, why? Why don't you just end the video? No, she can't. She actually cannot. Okay, so this is goodbye. Leave me comments as answers to some of those questions because this was supposed to be a live so that we can discuss certain things. Why can you not act like a normal person? And I am going to finish the coffee from Auntie Anne's. I think this is called Auntie Anne's. Good pretzels, good pretzels. And also defies the whole purpose of why I went to the gym today. Be more present. You don't have to have an outro. Just leave and leave people to answer them questions. And hopefully we get to do this together again. Okay, guys, bye. There should be a new video, I think, for Halloween. If the costume arrives, should have arrived already today, but it didn't yet. So if the costume arrives, 31st, meet me, same channel, like, subscribe, whatever, meet me here, because I'm dressing as a character from a popular movie. We're doing this. We're going hard. And now, bye! And stream, and stream. Stream, stop immediately. End it.